the first pub, essentially you were 24 years of age, a law student, fancied a squash club, couldn't find the right squash club, and took a fancy to this quite small pub in Muswell Hill, Marlers. Looking back, how big a kind of learning curve do you think it was for you the first time?
It was a very big learning curve indeed. They say people know two jobs, their own and how to run a football club, but you could also run a pub. We all felt that, but it's a hell of a lot more technical than people imagine. We all know that as well. And I didn't know anything about it, but it was a good cure for youthful arrogance, or a partial cure, please.
When did it sort of come home to you that this was a more complicated business than you first realised?
The first day, really, because I couldn't open the door. So I've never called a locksmith in my life. So I was standing outside the pub in Muswell Hill trying to call a locksmith from the pub across the road, actually. And 2 hours later I got the door open, the cleaners had buggered off and people came into a dirty pub. So it was, you can imagine the customers rolling their eyes at that point. So it was downhill from there, all the way from there really for years.
Do you remember many moments of doubt in the first few months that this was the right thing for you?
Oh, absolutely, yes. It was all doubt really, because after a very short while I realised that I was incompetent at the job, drinking too much, and generally not in control of anything.
Do you remember a moment when you sort of suddenly felt that you were competent and confident and sort of knew what you were doing?
No. I suppose as the years go by, the more you've dealt with the same problem, again the guys here will sympathise with that, the more you've dealt with the same problem, the easier it is. But the problem is the new ones keep cropping up, your bank goes bust, that type of stuff. So it's, you're never out of the woods.
Do you remember looking back the moment when you thought to yourself, actually, I built a really big business here?
I suppose, strangely enough, at the time we were opening pubs, 1979, 1980, 81. By the time we got to 6 or 8 pubs, I think we had more free houses than anyone else in London, because at that era they all belonged to brewers. So from an early age we were quite big fish in a small pond in a way.
I've chosen this one. It was December 31st, 1979, 2 weeks after you opened the first site, and it was New Year's Eve, and you were asking customers to leave, and their reaction was to put the window through. It was quite a similar moment because, well, perhaps you want to tell the story.
Yeah, well, what happened actually is that we'd shut the doors on New Year's Eve, and I was sitting in there with my brother having a pint, and someone started smacking on the door and making a hell of a din, so I opened the door and whacked one of them. And there was more than one, so they took an A-board which we left outside and chucked it through the window of the pub. So the pub had been called Marlers, and when I took it over I changed it to Martins, because it was only three or four letters to change. And it only survived as Martins for about 3 weeks, and after that I realised the game could well be up, and changed it to Wetherspoons when the window went back in. And who was said before, a teacher who couldn't control the class. So at least there was a sense of humour there, realising I couldn't control the pub either.